we want to remember that when you push play in this legal movie, you you were actually walking down two paths or two choices at the same time. You were trying to operate privately and publicly, and that's why when the two collide, what we call doing a job in the mammon world or the money world, a job was defined in the British language as official public business for private dishonest gain, because you're taking something out of the public and you're using it privately, and of course, for that usage, you have to pay tax on it. So they placed the the correct definitions in there to cover themselves with a warning. But the problem is people are not understanding this election. And in the Bible, as we had spoken of in the previous videos, there's an elective choice. Now, we're supposed to make our election sure with Christ if we're going down the spiritual. So if you're going to be under the kingdom of God's sovereignty, you cannot be in the kingdom of, or the kingdoms of the legal world, or the imagination of Satan in the fiction. So eating from the forbidden fruit, going down the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which are like two paths at the same time. You can't do it. So election, other than defined in the law dictionary as making a choice, it says in the context of choosing judicial review or appeal, or after having accepted an award, and that's really what this is, you're accepting this. The essence of the doctrine of election is that a person is properly precluded from exercising a right that is fundamentally inconsistent with another right, if he has consciously and unequivocally exercised the latter. In other words, one cannot have one's cake and eat it too. So what's happening with a lot of the groups that are out there, they're thinking they can have their cake and eat it too. And they're thinking they're going to go right back into the same system and operate, doing the same thing over again, but thinking now, oh, I didn't take the arid name and I'm going to do some other version of it now. No, you are now having to choose one path or the other path. And when you pull out of the legal will fall. It's just like I showed that title, and I'll do like a little bit of, I guess, an illustration of it in a future video where I just show a capital T. And it's just that pull, you're the upright truth supporting that bar of the legalists. And when you pull out that support, you won't be holding it up anymore, so you won't be the robber. You're going in there, you're committing larceny. You're stealing from the public and using it privately, and there's no way that's going to work. It just won't work. Truth doesn't work in fiction. It's at rest. And there's scriptures that we will read to support that. Be still and know that I am Lord. You're supposed to not be moving in their world. You're not supposed to be in there. You're not supposed to be unequally yoked with them, joined. You're not supposed to be in the stockade. If you're in there, unfortunately, you're going to not be receiving the Spirit of God, because you're placing His Spirit of truth and substance to support Satan's legal fiction. And it just is not going to work to a good result. So if you're looking for in relief with the seal that's already there for you, it's already done. When Jesus died, it was done. They crossed the line and placed Jesus into the public, the debt, and it was canceled. They put him into sin, and then they accused him of it. Even though he said his kingdom was not of that world, they said he was in their world, and they crossed the line. Even the Roman authorities wanted to let him go because they found no fault or error or blemish with him. He wasn't part of them. In order to have a blemish, you'd have to have a fictio title. He wasn't registered. He wasn't in their world. God doesn't register his property in the legal world. So therefore, when they did that, they crossed the line, and then they declared him a king. And they executed God's will because he killed the debt. He killed the debt in their world because of their mistake, their error. And therefore, it places the legal system in responsibility under act of state for an act of God, because they're inducing act of God into act of state, as they did with Jesus. So we have to see what's going on there, and especially on a day so historic, which is the leading, as I had mentioned in a previous video, we're dealing with the last meal he had with his disciples of the unleavened bread. And we know it was a miracle because unleavened bread has no yeast. And Jesus, in symbolism, was the unleavened bread. And then he rose 3 days later without any leaven. So that was a miracle. He arose. So when you do this, you will understand that this will be canceled. And 3 days later, you will arise.